I built $1 million company on a lie. I created a mentorship program that excluded half my workforce based on gender. I convinced myself I was fighting discrimination while actively practicing it. My name is Rebecca Chen, and 3 years ago, I launched Women Rising, an exclusive mentorship initiative that became the model for dozens of Fortune 500 companies. Today, I want to tell you why I shut it down, and what I discovered about real equality in the process. This is my confession. This is the story of how good intentions created terrible outcomes. 7 years ago, I stood on the stage at TechCrunch Disrupt, announcing a revolutionary mentorship program. At 42, I'd just taken my SaaS company public. We'd grown from 5 employees in my garage to 3,000 worldwide. The media called me a tech unicorn, a self-made female millionaire in Silicon Valley. But I remembered the struggles. The venture capital meetings where men talked over me. The conferences where I was mistaken for someone's assistant. The board meetings where my ideas were ignored until a male colleague repeated them verbatim. So I made a decision: Women Rising would be exclusively for women. Senior female leaders would mentor junior female employees. No men allowed. Period. The announcement went viral. Within hours, I was hailed as a visionary. Gloria Steinem tweeted her support. Major publications wrote glowing profiles. Other CEOs called, asking how to implement similar programs. Finally, one journalist wrote, "A leader who understands that women need their own spaces to thrive." I'd structured the program carefully. Every quarter, 50 junior women were matched with senior female mentors. They got exclusive access to leadership training, networking events, and fast-track promotion opportunities. I allocated $5 million annually to the initiative. The first cohort launched with a gala dinner at the Four Seasons. 200 women in elegant dresses, champagne flowing, speeches about breaking glass ceilings. I felt like I was changing the world. Looking back, I can see the warning signs I ignored. But at that moment, surrounded by grateful faces and thunderous applause, I was absolutely certain I was doing the right thing. For the first 18 months, Women Rising seemed like an unqualified success. Retention rates for female employees jumped 23%. Promotion rates for women in the program increased by 37%. The media coverage was relentless and positive. Harvard Business Review published a case study. I was invited to speak at the UN. My TED Talk about the program got 12 million views. How exclusive spaces create inclusive outcomes became required viewing at business schools worldwide. The messages poured in. Young women told me I'd changed their careers. I was ready to quit tech. Your program gave me the mentorship I desperately needed. For the first time, I have female role models who understand my struggles. I finally feel seen and valued in this male-dominated industry. Every success story reinforced my conviction. When critics suggested the program was discriminatory, I dismissed them as defenders of the status quo. When male employees complained about being excluded, I told them to check their privilege. My head of HR, Linda, enthusiastically expanded the program. We added women's innovation labs where only female employees could pitch ideas. We created women's leadership summits held quarterly at luxury resorts. We even launched women's think tanks to solve company problems. The segregation was complete, and I thought it was beautiful. But beneath the surface, something was rotting. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped under my office door. No name, no signature. Just 3 pages of typed text that would haunt me for months. It was from a male employee. He wrote, "Ms. Chen, I've worked at your company for 6 years. I've watched Women Rising create a 2-tier system where my female colleagues get opportunities I'll never access, regardless of my performance or potential. I've seen talented men leave because they know they'll never be mentored by senior leadership, 70% of whom are now exclusively focused on developing women. I supported your program at first. I believe in equality. But I've watched it become something else entirely. The women in the program form exclusive networks that shut men out of projects, promotions, and opportunities. They openly discuss strategies in meetings I'm excluded from. They make decisions at events I can't attend. Last month, I was passed over for a promotion I'd been working toward for 3 years. The position went to a woman in your program who'd been here 18 months. When I asked my manager for feedback, he said, "We need more women in leadership." Not that she was better qualified, just that she was female. I'm not angry. I'm just tired. I'm a good employee who's been systematically disadvantaged because of my gender. Isn't that exactly what you were trying to fight against? I'm leaving next month. So are 12 other men from my department. We've all found companies that value merit over gender quotas. I thought you should know why you're losing good people. I read that letter 5 times. My first instinct was defensiveness. This was clearly a disgruntled employee who couldn't handle women succeeding. I almost threw it away. But something made me look at the data. Turnover among male employees had increased by 41% since Women Rising launched. Exit interviews mentioned lack of opportunity and feeling undervalued at rates 3 times higher than before the program. Male employees' internal promotion rates had dropped by 29%. I'd been so focused on elevating women that I'd never asked what impact it had on everyone else. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that anonymous letter writer, someone talented enough to be employed at my company, dedicated enough to stay for 6 years, but defeated enough to quit. For the first time, I wondered if I'd created the very problem I claimed to solve. I did something I should have done years earlier. I commissioned anonymous focus groups with male employees. Third-party facilitators, guaranteed confidentiality, no repercussions for honesty. What I learned destroyed my certainty about everything I'd built. Marcus was 31, a brilliant engineer who'd helped design our core product. He spoke quietly, choosing his words carefully. I used to love working here. I felt like we were building something meaningful together. But over the last 2 years, there's been this shift. The women in Women Rising have formed this inner circle. They have these inside jokes from their retreats. They make decisions at their networking events that the rest of us hear about secondhand. I'm not resentful of their success. I genuinely celebrate when they get promoted. But I've stopped seeing a future for myself here. The path to senior leadership runs through mentorship, and I'm excluded from that by policy. So I'm looking elsewhere. Jamal, a 28-year-old project manager, was more direct. Let me be real with you. I'm a black man in tech. I face discrimination constantly. When I heard about Women Rising, I thought, finally, a company that cares about diversity. Then I realized diversity meant women, not people of color. The program has helped white women tremendously, but where's the mentorship for minorities? Where's people of color rising? I've watched white women in your program get promoted past black men and women who aren't in it. You've created a new form of privilege, and you're too convinced of your own righteousness to see it. David, 46, had been with the company since the garage days. I helped you build this company, Rebecca. I believed in your vision. But you've forgotten that men aren't the enemy, bad behavior is. I've spent my entire career mentoring women, advocating for their promotions, using my privilege to open doors. And my reward? Being excluded from programs, watching junior women get opportunities my own ments don't qualify for because they're male. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for equal treatment. Isn't that what equality means? 7 focus groups, 49 men total. The patterns were devastating. 87% felt their career growth had stagnated since Women Rising launched. 73% believed they were passed over for opportunities due to gender. 91% said they'd never report these feelings formally due to fear of being labeled sexist. 64% were actively job searching. I'd created a hostile work environment. Just not for the people I'd intended to protect. I thought maybe the men were exaggerating, so I conducted anonymous surveys with women too. What I found was even more disturbing. The women outside Women Rising felt abandoned. Sarah, a talented designer, wrote, I didn't get selected for Women Rising because I was on maternity leave when applications were due. Now I watch my female colleagues advance while I'm stuck. The program was supposed to help all women, but it only helps the chosen 50 each quarter. The rest of us are invisible. But even some women in the program expressed concerns. Jennifer, a senior manager and mentor, wrote, "I'm uncomfortable with how exclusive this has become. I'm mentoring brilliant young women, but I think about the talented young men on my team who would benefit from similar guidance. I'm spending 10 hours a month on Women Rising, time I used to spend developing all my reports equally. I've also noticed something troubling. Some women in the program have developed this attitude that they deserve advancement simply for being in the program, regardless of performance. When I give constructive feedback, I'm sometimes accused of not being supportive enough of women." The most damning feedback came from Elena, a vice president. "Rebecca, I need to be honest with you. Women Rising has created a culture of entitlement among some participants. They expect promotions on accelerated timelines, regardless of readiness. When they don't get what they want, they claim gender discrimination, even when the person promoted was also a woman, just not in the program. Worse, I've watched some women in the program form exclusive cliques that shut out other women. We've created a hierarchy where Women Rising participants are real feminists and everyone else is somehow complicit in patriarchy. It's toxic." Then I looked at performance data. Women in the program were being promoted, yes, but were they actually more qualified? I compared performance reviews of promoted Women Rising participants against male employees passed over for the same positions. In 43% of cases, the male employee had stronger performance metrics, more experience, and better peer reviews. They'd been passed over explicitly because we needed more women in leadership. I'd turned gender into a qualification, rather than ensuring qualified women weren't overlooked. The lawsuit arrived on a Thursday. Class action, representing 312 male employees, alleging systematic gender discrimination. My lawyers assured me we'd win. After all, we were fighting for women, which courts generally support. But as I read the complaint, I felt sick. It detailed specific cases. Thomas, a senior engineer with 12 years' experience and stellar reviews, passed over for VP of Engineering in favor of a Women Rising participant with 6 years' experience and average reviews. The stated reason in internal emails: "We need a woman in this role." Carlos, who'd mentored 15 junior employees, mostly women, on his own time, denied entry to leadership training reserved for Women Rising participants. He'd requested admission and been told, "This is for women only." He'd mentored more women than half the official mentors in the program. Kyle, whose innovative project generated $15 million in revenue, watched his female team member receive the promotion he'd been promised. HR emails explicitly stated, "Women Rising participants should get this opportunity." These weren't edge cases. They were systematic patterns repeated across the company. My legal team wanted to fight. "You were correcting historical injustice," they argued. "Courts understand affirmative action." But I couldn't do it. Because they weren't wrong. I had created a discriminatory system. I just convinced myself it was justified discrimination. The settlement cost the company $40 million. But the real cost was my soul. I called an emergency board meeting. Half the board urged me to fight, to defend Women Rising as a progressive program under attack from fragile male egos. The other half wanted me to quietly wind it down to avoid controversy. I did neither. I announced I was immediately ending Women Rising and replacing it with Merit Rising, a mentorship program open to all employees regardless of gender, race, or background. Selection would be based purely on potential and performance. The backlash was immediate and vicious. Feminist organizations I'd donated millions to called me a traitor. Former friends accused me of caving to male pressure. Social media exploded with hashtags like #RebeccaChinIsOver and #InternalizedMisogyny. My TED Talk was removed. Speaking engagements were cancelled. The Harvard Business Review published a scathing critique titled "How Rebecca Chen Betrayed Women in Tech." But something else happened too. The men who'd felt alienated started staying. Turnover dropped. Exit interviews became positive again. Male employees reported feeling valued for the first time in years. And the women? The talented women who'd been outside Women Rising finally had access to mentorship. The junior women who'd relied on the program initially panicked, but then something beautiful happened. They realized their skills and potential were real, not just products of special treatment. Performance across all teams improved because we were finally developing everyone, not just half our workforce. I'm 45 now. My company is stronger than ever, but my reputation may never recover in certain circles. I've lost friends, speaking opportunities, and my status as a feminist icon. But I sleep better at night. Here's what I learned: good intentions don't justify bad outcomes. Fighting discrimination with discrimination just creates new victims. Equality means equal opportunity, not guaranteed equal outcomes. The uncomfortable truth is that men aren't the enemy. Systems that judge people by immutable characteristics rather than merit and potential, those are the enemy. I'd become what I'd claimed to fight against. Real equality means mentoring people based on potential, not gender. Promoting people based on performance, not diversity quotas. Creating opportunities for everyone, not exclusive programs that divide. Acknowledging that men can face discrimination too. Understanding that women don't need special treatment, we need equal treatment. Women Rising had participants who genuinely benefited and deserved their advancement. But it also promoted women who weren't ready, excluded men who deserved opportunities, and created a toxic culture of division. Merit Rising has now run for 2 years. We've mentored 400 employees, 52% women, 48% men. Promotion rates are based on readiness, not gender. And you know what? Women are still advancing at strong rates. Because talented women don't need artificial advantages, they need fair systems. I still believe in fighting for women in tech. But I fight differently now. I fight for fair hiring practices, unbiased performance reviews, and family leave policies that support everyone. I fight against the systems that held women back, not against the men who were never the problem. The revolution we need isn't women succeeding at men's expense. It's all talented people succeeding regardless of gender. It's not special programs that divide us, it's fair systems that unite us. If you're running women-only programs at your company, I want you to ask yourself, are you creating equality, or just shifting discrimination to a different target? Are talented men being excluded from opportunities they deserve? Are you selecting based on potential or demographics? The bravest thing I ever did wasn't launching Women Rising. It was shutting it down when I realized it was wrong. Progress isn't about tearing down one group to elevate another. It's about building systems where everyone can thrive based on merit, effort, and potential. That's the revolution I'm fighting for now. Not women against men, but all of us against systems that judge us by anything other than our capabilities and character. If my story helps even one leader rethink their approach to workplace equality, then maybe the damage I caused wasn't entirely in vain. Maybe redemption comes from having the courage to admit when you're wrong, even when the whole world is telling you you're right. Narrator, what do you think? Have you experienced workplace programs that divided rather than united? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more stories about the messy reality of leadership and equality.